Hello, friends. Dr. John WorldPeace JD coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, the land of enchantment, home of the ETs, UFOs, and the atomic bomb. I've been busy for a couple of weeks with work and confusion about the political landscape between now and November. There's no way that Trump is going to avoid all those lawsuits, but we have to wait for all this to slowly drag out. But it may be that Trump doesn't get the final nail in the coffin until close to November, and there's no way that the Republicans are going to be able to scramble with another candidate. Joe Biden, I did not vote for Joe Biden. I voted against Trump. But Joe Biden, on one issue, is every bit as worthless as Donald Trump. There is a global acknowledgement that there is a genocidal holocaust going on in Gaza at the hands of the Zionists. And Joe Biden is fully behind that, supporting it, giving money to it, and it's going to have a bad ending. But the problem that we have right now is that Biden can't go on killing Muslims and supporting the apartheid state of Israel and the Zionist holocaust. And we can't put an undeniable Trump in office again. Nobody can deny that this guy Trump tried to steal the presidency and stop the transition of power. That's a fact. He's an insurrectionist, and to me, an insurrectionist is a traitor. He's also Antichrist with his cursing of the radical liberal left message of Jesus to feed the hungry and heal the sick and shelter the homeless. That's a message that Trump curses. So I don't know how Christians can get in line with him. I don't know how any American can get in line with a guy that definitely tried to subvert the Constitution of the United States. At any rate, commentary today is Biden will lose the election in November because he's supporting the 75-year-old Zionist holocaust in Palestine. The Palestinian Americans are not going to allow Biden to support the genocidal Zionist Americans and allow the families of Palestinian Americans to be slaughtered by Zionists who just promoted a Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's crazy. I'm not gonna observe the Zionist Remembrance Day of the Nazi Holocaust when they're got their own little Holocaust going. Forget it. They learned nothing. except how to follow the Hitler plan to kill whoever you want. At the end of the 1800s, about 120, 30 years ago, the Zionists came together and decided they were going to reestablish Israel. And they put all their efforts into it, and they went through a Nazi holocaust of killing 6 million Jews. But right now we see the Zionist holocaust in Gaza, in Palestine, and they want all of Palestine for themselves, and they want to ethnically cleanse not just Palestinians and Muslims. They want to clean out the Christians over there as well. They want that Palestine to be another theocracy, just like Iran and Afghanistan and some of the other ones. Joe, you need to wake up to the fact that Hamas murdering 1,200 Zionists in a 75-year Zionist holocaust in Palestine that has killed tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Palestinians over those 75 years, and committed every possible crime against the Palestinians that can be imagined. The Zionists have a concentration camp in Gaza where they murder people daily in hundreds with American bombs. The reality is 30,000 Palestinians murdered, 70,000 wounded, with American-supplied weapons of mass destruction in 4 years. No food, no water, no medicine, no fully functional hospitals, no power, electric blackouts, the leveling of houses, infrastructure, school, mosque by the Zionists while your family is intact, safe, and happy. Netanyahu thumbs his nose at America and Christians, you and the international community, because you keep his Holocaust supplied with weapons of mass destruction, as does Europe. Donald Trump's an insurrectionist and a criminal and a worthless anarchist who I have total contempt for, but not as much as I have for you and your enabling of the Zionist genocide in Gaza. Everything that America stands for is thrown out the window, Joe, with your administration. You will not convince anyone you did not have the power to immediately stop the murderous genocide. Times have changed, Joe. This is the third millennium, and the millenniums are not going to put up with the Jews owning American politicians and university presidents and you. You've betrayed your oath of office. You're letting the Jews start a full-blown war in the Middle East. The Red Sea is being shut down by the Houthis, specifically due to the Zionist Holocaust in Gaza. The whole world is watching Netanyahu playing you like a Jew's harp. 16 million Jews and Zionists in control of 335 million Americans and creating untold hatred with 2 billion Muslims. Are you out of your mind, Joe? This is obvious what's going on. You're owned by the Zionists. Now, because you're delaying working out immigration on the southern border until Trump won 2 primaries, He is now shutting you down in the immigration fight and stopping money to Ukraine, which is about his hatred of Ukraine because Zelensky would not give him information on your son's dealings in business. You're too old for this job, Joe. You're stuck in the past, and you're working contrary to the core American belief. This is the only melting pot nation in the world. The only one. America is the most successful nation in the world because it is a melting pot nation and the chosen nation and people of God, and you are supporting these rabid Zionists who will not agree to give up their determination for the last 120 years to create a Jewish theocracy and a fully ethnically cleansed Zion. You're their puppet. Joe, you can't back down 2 billion Muslims who are watching your murderous enabling of the Zionist holocaust in Gaza. There's a huge crisis coming very soon. The Republicans are going to crash and burn with Trump, who will go to jail and leave the Reds without a presidential candidate in 2024. And you're creating chaos in the world by supporting an apartheid nation of Israel, murdering Palestinians and Muslims. Don't you get it, Joe? These Zionists have total contempt for Christians, not because they laugh at the dead God who was nailed to a cross of the Christians, but because they still have to bow down to American presidents who have written the genocidal checks. They're not free to do what they want. They cannot survive without America. You're in a hole, Joe, still digging. You're not just going to lose the presidency, but you're going to be held in contempt by all future Americans whose hands are covered with Palestinian blood because you have tied America to a genocidal Israel. For centuries, your progeny are going to be asked accusingly to your children, hey, aren't you related to that President Biden? The hatred is growing against you, Joe. The Palestinian blood is calling you out for your support of the Zionist genocide. Trump is just as corrupt in a different way. He has no God but himself. He worships money and power. He is like Putin. But you, Joe, you're the lapdog of a genocidal apartheid state of Zion. Wake up, Joe. All the good you have done is going to be erased by the Zionist genocide. You're playing games with Netanyahu. You're saying you're not going to accept this, not going to accept that, and he's coming back at you. And you're gonna postpone this whole thing 4 more years, Joe, when it could be resolved in months. Joe, do you know, according to the well-documented book Other Losses by James Bach, President Eisenhower starved to death over 1 million Nazis post-World War II for the Holocaust. Now you're supporting the apartheid state of Zion and its Holocaust in Gaza concentration camp. You'll never cover up your bad acts and accessory to crimes against humanity, which drags the American flag in the bloody Zionist gutter. You're courting a huge war in the Middle East, Joe. Iran is going to shut down the Red Sea, and let me end with this. Once 2 billion Muslims turn on 16 million Jews globally, what then, Joe? What then? The Zionists, if they can, and they will, they'll knock down the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, and then there won't be any more Jews. They can't. 16 million Jews cannot survive the onslaught of 2 billion Muslims. The protests against you, Joe, are going to get worse, much worse. Wait until the Zionists blow up the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, Joe. Before the Zionist holocaust in Gaza, Netanyahu was pushing to marginalize the Zionist courts. Fortunately, October 7th put that plan in the garbage. But the Zionists plan to take over the Temple Mount and ethnically cleanse all of Palestine is not going to be put aside with nice words from anyone. What is coming, Joe, is a second, final diaspora. The worst case for the Zionists. America creates a plan of action. The solution is America creates a plan of action for Palestine, just like America did in Germany and Japan post-World War II. The Zionists have cut off virtually all help of an economic future for non-Jews in Palestine. This is just absolutely unbelievable. The core foundation of America is accepting all genders, all nationalities, all races, all religions. And you said no to Muslims in general and no to Palestinians in specific. And there are Palestinians and Muslims all over America. There's Iranians all over America. They were everywhere here in the 70s. And everything was kind of rocking along until Iran took those hostages. And then Jimmy Carter screwed up the attempt to free them. So, Joe, you're in a bad way. You're as un-American as Donald Trump in a totally different way because you are owned by the Zionists and always have been. And from what I'm reading, and it's hard to know what's true and not, is that your father hammered into you poor little Jews. Well, we now see what the Jews are all about. After they crucified Jesus, God let the Romans wipe out Jerusalem, tear down the temple, and run the Jews out of there. In 600 A.D., God gave the Temple Mount and all of Palestine to the Muslims. They've been there 1,400 years. And in 1930s and 40s, God let the Nazis kill 6 million Jews. That's not the chosen nation of God, not Zion. The chosen nation of God is America, the only melting pot nation in the whole world, and consequently, the greatest nation in the world. And you are smearing blood on the hands and faces and bodies of 335 million Americans supporting these radical Zionists. There is no difference except the name of the God between the Muslims in Iran and the Jews in Zion. Share this, friends. We're coming to a crisis. We'll survive, but I don't know how long it's going to last. Share this video. There's a contribution link below. Pray for us.